Welcome back. Now we will try to know about visual image interpretation. Now this is interpreting the satellite image with the help of an eye. And going by the definition, we can see that visual image interpretation is defined as the act of examining images to identify objects and judge their significance. The definition was given by Colwell in 1997. Here, the interpreter studies remotely sensed data and attempts through logical process to detect, identify, measure, and evaluate the significance of environmental and cultural objects, patterns, and spatial relationships to interpret the image. It's an information extraction process. The interpreter from an image tries to extract the information to the best possible extent using different kinds of elements. And those elements of visual interpretation include the shape. Now, shape is can be distinctly seen. The difference can be distinctly seen between natural features and the man-made features. So from the shape we can say whether the vegetation is a forest or whether it is an orchard, because the forest has a shape which has some natural boundaries and the orchards may have some straight boundaries. So from the shape we can say that what the element is, the feature is going to be. Of course, the size. Suppose we have two water bodies. One is a linear feature, it's small, and another is a lake. So from the size we can say both are water, but one of the features is a river and the other feature may be a lake. The tone refers to the color. Now we already know, if you are interpreting a false color composite, you can clearly see that whatever is seen in red in a standard false color composite is going to be the vegetation, and whatever you see in blue is going to be water, whatever you see in pink is going to be agriculture, in cyan it's going to be urban or habitation, and sometimes shadows also reveal some hidden profiles of the buildings. And when micro relief features may be easier to detect under conditions of low angle solar illumination than when the sky is very high. And shadows have proven to be very useful in some geomorphological studies. Now, what is the pattern? We already know that in land use land cover, people bound by their cultural tendencies, they seem to follow a unique pattern at almost all the places, like around the villages, the habitation areas, they have an agricultural land, so that you will always get to watch agricultural land outside those small habitation areas. So likewise we have some relations between the land use types that reveals the pattern of that of those physical features, though that may help us in identification of some of the features. But the texture is closely associated with the tone, but when the tone is same, we have to look at the microtonal patterns, how the tone is frequently there is a microtonal pattern. I mean, there is a small change in tonal conditions at the micro level. So based on this texture we can say this image may be having a smooth texture, it may be having rippled, mottled, lineated, or irregular texture. So like if we quote an example, the dense forest may have a smooth texture without kind of gaps in between, the tone will look smooth. But in case of a low dense forest where deforestation has been done, the tone may look rough, having the gaps in between, which gives the reflectance of soil in between. And site, of course, it may be used at an advanced level to classify the features. It refers to the location of the object with respect to terrain features, like where the feature we have identified, and we know that feature, we are not 100% sure the feature must be that, then we see where it is located with respect to the terrain features. Then on the basis of that, we come to know whether it has to be that feature or not. To quote an example, like we have high or temperate grasslands, and we have the agricultural lands giving the same texture of pink color. But when once we see the site, the if it is located in the high altitudes, in the hilly terrain, we come to know that these are the natural grasslands. And if the terrain is in the plains, we can conclude that these are the agricultural lands where some grasses have been sown for fodder. So before we take up any classification on the basis of visual interpretation, we have to develop a visual interpretation key. Before classifying the image, we need to finalize on the basis of our experience, on the basis of the ground truth points that have been collected from the field, to ascertain that what is going to be what's. Likewise, we can see it is an example of one of the interpretation keys. This is the so the classifier in this case has developed this interpretation key before he takes up the classification. Like he has defined for himself as an visual interpreter that this, I'll go into this area, this kind of area I'm going to classify as dense forest, this I'm going to classify as open forest, this is I am going to classify as forest scrub, this is I'm going to classify as grasslands, this is what he is going to classify as horticulture, this is going to classify as agriculture, and this is going to be classify as the kharif crop, this agriculture, and this is the double crop. Likewise, this is going to be the water body. So on the basis of the experience and the ground truth points collected, the interpreter has developed a visual interpretation key, which is essential to take up any land use land cover classification using visual interpretation. So this is all about visual interpretation. Thank you.